They don't scream it. They don't text it. They don't say, "I want you." They just ask you a question, software, casual, simple, and in that moment, 97% of men, they miss it. They walk away with a handshake. She walks away thinking, "Guess he's not interested." That one question was her shot, and you didn't even see it. This video is not about how to chase women. It's about how to see them when they're already standing right in front of you. If you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking it was just polite talk while she was hoping you'd notice her, this is your wake-up call. You were told to be a provider, to work hard, build a life, stand tall. And now, you're older, maybe 40 or 60. You've been through things. Divorce, loss, betrayal, maybe silence. You sit in restaurants alone, waiting for someone to see the real you. And when a woman does finally speak to you, you don't know what she means. Not because you're broken, because no one taught you how to listen in this stage of life. Most men think attraction ends at youth. But what if I told you that at 55, 63, even 70, women still want you? They're still testing you. They're still choosing you. Only difference now, they do it quietly. This video exists to flip your lens completely, to teach you how to see what's always been there, but you never knew how to read it. Right now, I want every man watching to comment, "I attract, not chase." Let's begin. Number 1, how old are you really? She's not just asking a question, she's peeling back your life's cover in 5 words. That moment when a woman leans in, lowers her voice, locks eyes with you and says, "How old are you really?" That's not flirtation in the way you've been conditioned to see it. It's an invitation, a moment so rare and so delicate that most men crush it under their own self-doubt before they ever see its value. She already knows you're not 30. She knows your hair's turned grey and your hands have wrinkles. What she doesn't know, and what she's dying to find out, is whether you wear your age like a punishment or a crown. The truth is, most men flinch when this question lands. They laugh nervously, joke about how they're too old for anyone, or worse, downplay their life entirely. And in that one blink of hesitation, in that one subtle dodge, they fail the test. Because what she's really searching for isn't a number. It's not even about the years. It's about what those years have done to you and how you've chosen to carry them. Do you carry them like dead weight or like stories that shaped a wiser man? Do you regret your time or own it like a warrior who survived battles no one even knows existed? The man who passes this test doesn't answer with a smirk or a line. He doesn't recoil from the question, he rises in it. He meets her gaze and says, "Old enough to see through the noise, young enough to feel everything that still matters." And he means it, because deep down she's not looking for youth. She's looking for aliveness. A man still present in his life. A man who has history but hasn't let it harden him. She wants to see if your eyes still light up when you talk about the things that matter, if your chest still expands with purpose when you speak your truth. If you dodge this question, she won't punish you. She won't scold you. She'll simply close the door she had cracked open, quietly, completely. Because that single question, those 5 words, are how she tests whether you're still standing tall within your own timeline. Most men have no idea how sacred that moment is. They joke about their age, they make themselves small, and she walks away, not because she didn't like them, but because they didn't know how to see themselves anymore. And if you don't value the man you've become, why would she? Number 2, why aren't you married? This one slices deeper than most men are ready for, not because it's personal, but because it reveals everything you've buried. When a woman looks at you and asks, "Why aren't you married?" she's not interrogating your past. She's scanning your soul. She's watching your eyes, your tone, your stillness. She's measuring your emotional weight. not your resume. She doesn't want to hear about the divorce papers, the cheating ex, the childhood sweetheart who got away. She wants to know one thing: have you unpacked the baggage, or are you still dragging it behind you? Most men panic at this point. They launch into long explanations, filled with wounds and war stories, thinking she wants details. She doesn't. What she wants is emotional availability. She's trying to see if there's space in your life for her, or if it's still filled with ghosts. And here's the brutal truth: if your voice tightens, if your tone turns bitter, if your words carry the weight of unresolved pain, she feels it instantly. She hears every unspoken word. She sees the bars of the cage you've locked yourself in. You may think you're just being honest about your past, but what she hears is a man still living in it. And she knows better than to try to love a man who's still bleeding from battles he never cleaned. But if you can meet her with calm, with peace, with grounded acceptance of the life you've lived, the good, the brutal, the silent chapters, you become magnetic. Say something simple. Say, life went the way it went. I built, I learned, I let go. Now there's room for something real. That's not a line. That's leadership. That's the voice of a man who's healed, not perfectly, but completely enough to hold a woman without dropping her. The men who win in this chapter of life aren't the ones with flawless pasts. They're the ones who've looked back, faced the wreckage, and walked out the other side with open hands. She's not asking why no one loved you. She's asking whether you still believe you're lovable, whether you've made peace with the version of you who tried, who failed, who kept going. Women don't expect you to be untouched by pain, but they do expect you to have transformed through it. Because love isn't built on flawless records, it's built on resilience. And if she senses you're still battling a ghost from 10 years ago, she won't step into that war. She's not there to heal you. She's there to meet you, to connect, to build something new. But only if you've cleared the rubble. If you haven't, you'll lose her without even knowing why. And you'll tell yourself she just wasn't serious, that women are complicated, that no one wants someone real anymore. But the truth is, she was serious. She just didn't see room for herself in your past heavy heart. And until you can let go of what didn't work, you'll keep losing what might have. The question, why aren't you married, is never about what you lost. It's about what you're still holding, and whether she'll have to compete with a memory or walk beside a man who's finally free. And if any part of you just felt that shift, that gut punch of truth, that quiet voice whispering, "This is me," then don't let this moment slip by like the questions you've missed before. That's why the Stoic relationship blueprint exists. It's a deep, practical manual forged for men who are ready to stop guessing and start understanding. These questions women ask? This book breaks down how to never miss them ever again, rewires how you respond, and reclaims your place as the man who doesn't just survive relationships. He masters them, and once it's yours forever. You'll never be without the tools again. No expiration, no subscriptions, just lifetime clarity, waiting for you each time you need to sharpen your edge. If you've ever been tired of missing the signs, this isn't a recommendation. It's your next step. Number 3. Do you date younger women? She doesn't ask this to flatter you, and she definitely doesn't ask it out of innocent curiosity. She asks it to gauge whether you see her as a real woman or just another number in a long string of could-have-beens you collect for your ego and regret in the dark. The moment those words leave her mouth, she's not smiling to be sweet. She's watching your soul recalibrate, watching whether you'll mask your insecurity with bravado or meet her question with the kind of grounded honesty that only a man who knows himself can give. Because the truth is, when a woman asks, "Do you date younger women?" she's already measuring your emotional depth, your ability to connect without trying to dominate or impress. If you puff up and brag about how you still got it, if you drop names or wink or act like you're some silver-haired king collecting attention from girls who barely know themselves, she knows you're empty. She knows you need validation more than you're willing to admit, and you've made your attractiveness a game instead of a connection. On the flip side, if you shut down, get self-deprecating, or dismiss the question with a "you're way too young for me," you're not being humble, you're running from vulnerability, cutting yourself off before she can even consider opening up. Both reactions show her the same thing, that you're still trying to win approval, still operating from the same fear that made you freeze when you were 23. But she's not 23 anymore, and neither are you. She's not looking to be impressed, she's looking to be seen. What she wants, what she's begging you to say without saying it, is that you're not judging connection by the calendar, that you understand depth isn't determined by digits, that you recognize a woman's value in her expression, her mind, her presence, not in the year she was born. Because when she asks that question, what she's really saying is, "Do I matter to you?" She's trying to see if she exists in your field of vision as someone worthy of curiosity, of energy, of pursuit, not as a comparison, not as a fallback, not as a conquest. And if you miss that, if you answer in a way that makes her feel like a statistical outlier instead of a possibility, you've lost something deeper than attraction. You've lost the chance to know a woman who was willing to be bold enough to ask what most are too scared to even voice. The man who wins in that moment doesn't speak to her age. He speaks to her existence. He says something like, "I don't date by age. I connect by energy. And right now, yours has my full attention." He means it, and she feels it. No flinching, no pretending, just truth. Because she didn't ask to hear about your preferences, she asked to know if she stands a chance. If you make her feel small, or like she's a punchline, she's done. But if you give her an answer that holds space for possibility, an answer that's rooted in your awareness of what actually matters, she stays. She leans in, she opens, because in a world full of men who chase youth like it's currency, she's desperately searching for one man who can look at her right now and say, "I see you." Number 4. Are you always this quiet? This isn't small talk, and it's not a compliment. It's a probe into your core, a subtle challenge disguised as a whisper, a question that cuts through the air like a test you didn't even know you were taking. Because when a woman asks you, "Are you always this quiet?" she's not annoyed, and she's not simply curious. She's searching for depth beneath stillness, trying to see if you are a man who retreats from connection or a man who holds it in heavy, intentional pauses that pull her closer. The mistake most men make when they hear this is thinking they need to suddenly fill the space with chatter, as if her question was a complaint that needed fixing, a hole that had to be plugged with fast words and empty anecdotes. But she's not asking you to entertain her. She's asking if there's substance behind the quiet. If the reason you don't rush to speak is because your words are weighed and deliberate, or because you're hiding. Women are not stupid. They know when a man is silently confident and when a man is silently afraid. They feel the difference between mystery and avoidance. And when they sense the latter, when they sense that your stillness is a shield instead of a stance, they withdraw, even if they smile as they do it. Because what she's really asking with that question is, can you meet me in this space we're sharing right now? Can you bring presence, not just proximity? And if you can't, if you deflect with a joke or clam up and pretend it wasn't said, she sees that you're not present, not engaged, not willing to show her who you are behind the quiet. What she wants is your essence, your perspective, your heart, not in poetic metaphors, but in raw expression that says, "I'm here, I'm real, and I'm not afraid to share it." And it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to launch into your childhood traumas or your philosophical views on the world. Sometimes all it takes is saying something direct, like, "I speak when I mean something. Right now, I'm watching you," and that's enough. That's not a line. It's an anchoring. It tells her you're not performing. You're observing. You're not quiet because you're empty. You're quiet because you're aware. And when she senses that, when she feels that your silence is not distance but attention, she leans in, because women crave a man who knows when to speak and when to feel, when to ask and when to hold. And she'll test you again and again, not because she wants to break you, but because she wants to see if you'll stay centered when everything else is pulling you to break character. She's not looking for noise. She's looking for presence that feels like gravity, the kind of grounded stillness that says, "I'm not hiding, I'm listening, I'm deciding." And if you can hold that, if you can embody that, if you can let your quiet be a bridge instead of a wall, she'll cross it. Every time, because what separates boys from men isn't who talks the most. It's who knows what not to say, and says what needs to be said when the moment matters. And that, right there, is the answer she was always looking for. Number 5. Do you live alone? This question isn't casual, and it's never innocent. It's strategic, it's layered, and it reveals more about how she sees your life than you realize, because when a woman asks, "Do you live alone?" she isn't just asking about your living arrangement, she's trying to understand the energy you live in daily, the rhythm of your space, and whether it's been cultivated for growth or allowed to decay in the shadows of neglect and emotional abandonment. Because most men, when they answer, speak about logistics. "Yeah, it's just me," or "I got the place to myself," thinking she's curious about your rent or whether there's space for her coat in the closet. But what she's really asking is, have you built a kingdom, or are you just squatting in your past? Is your home a place of vitality, or is it a museum of who you used to be? She's looking for evidence of life, real, expressive, intentional living, not just survival. And when you say, "I live alone," she's listening for what you leave unsaid. She's tuning in for the truth between the lines, whether your voice carries pride, detachment, sorrow, or desperation. And if you stumble, if you downplay your reality, if your energy gives off the vibe of someone who's merely existing in their space, she will feel it in her gut, because women don't just hear your words, they feel your frequency, and they know whether your home is a sanctuary of a man at peace or a cell for a man who hasn't moved on. So instead of brushing it off, speak truth from the bones. Tell her, "Yes, I live alone, and I've made it mine. It reflects me, my habits, my peace, my mornings with sunlight, and my nights with quiet clarity," because that shows her you're not waiting for someone to complete your life. You've already filled it with structure, meaning, and self-respect. And she can feel safe walking into a life like that, not because she needs to be impressed, but because she needs to know she won't have to carry the entire emotional weight of the relationship by herself. And the truth most men don't want to face is this: if your house feels dead, your life feels dead, and she'll feel that before she ever takes her shoes off at your door. And no, it's not about expensive furniture or how neat your kitchen is. It's about whether your space breathes with the values you claim to live by, whether it speaks for you when you're quiet, whether it tells her, "This man knows who he is, and he doesn't apologize for the life he's built." And if your home doesn't reflect strength, peace, and purpose, she won't try to add those things for you. She'll just leave, and she won't explain why. She'll just know you haven't grown roots deep enough to support anything lasting. So when she asks you this simple question, don't fall into the trap of treating it like a casual inquiry. Recognize it for what it is: a window into your truth, a way for her to see whether there's room for her presence, or whether you're still haunted by the absence of everything that came before her. And if you're ready to stop living like you're waiting for life to begin, then make your space reflect your values. Make your answers reflect your groundedness. Because the man who says, "Yes, "I live alone, but I live deliberately," is the man she will want to know more of, not because he's flashy, but because he's finally full. Number 6. What do you do for fun? That question might sound harmless, but it slices straight to the truth like a blade to the soul, because when a woman asks you, "What do you do for fun?" she's not testing your sense of humor or looking for a checklist of hobbies. She's examining your vitality, your drive, your ability to still feel wonder in a world that has hardened most men into bitterness and excuses. Because most men, when they hear that question, freeze, stumble, laugh nervously, and offer up the dead answers. "I watch TV. I go to the pub sometimes. I chill." And those words don't just bore her, they break her hope, because what she's really trying to uncover is this: are you alive, or are you just existing on autopilot? She wants to know if your spirit still dances when no one's watching, if you still chase moments that light you up inside, if you still fight for days that feel full. And most men haven't been asked this kind of question in years, maybe decades, so they brush it off. Not because they're dull, but because they've forgotten who they were before the world flattened their edges and dulled their flame. But this question is not about what you do. It's about who you are when you're not being what the world told you to be. And if your answer is flat, if your tone is lifeless, if your energy feels like surrender, she'll feel it in her chest and quietly step back. Not because she doesn't like you, but because you remind her of a life she doesn't want to join. And the truth is, she's not looking for a clown. She's not looking for forced excitement or theatrics. She's looking for passion. She's looking for purpose. She's looking for that look in your eye when you talk about the thing that makes your heartbeat accelerate. And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be skydiving or travel or gourmet cooking. It could be gardening, restoring vintage tools, writing letters you never send, training your body, or walking trails at dawn. It just has to be yours. It has to mean something to you. It has to come from a place that says, "I don't just pass time, I create meaning with it." And when you share that, when you answer her with presence and conviction, she won't care what it is, because she'll feel you in it. She'll see the man who hasn't gone numb, the man who hasn't given up on joy. And in that moment, she'll realize this is someone worth sharing life with. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And the man who has fun without needing approval is the man she can feel safe laughing next to when life turns gray. So if you've forgotten what lights you up, go find it. Pick up the pen, get back in the kitchen, dust off the camera, lace up the shoes, and give yourself back the gift of joy. Not because it'll impress her, but because without it, you're fading. And a woman doesn't want to build her life next to a man who has no pulse left in his day. So the next time you hear that question, don't mumble. Stand in it, breathe into it, and say with strength, "I do what makes me feel alive." And then tell her what that is, because when your fun has depth, it becomes freedom, and freedom is the language she's been waiting to hear. Number 7. What are you looking for? When she asks you this, she's not just asking for your preferences, she's handing you the weight of your own vision and watching whether you can carry it without collapsing under your own confusion. Because most men have never been taught how to answer this question with clarity, power, or truth. Most flinch, they mumble about just seeing where it goes, or default to a list of traits that sound more like a grocery order than a calling. And every time a man dodges this question, every time he shrinks away from giving a straight answer, she feels the hollowness of it in her bones, because she's not asking to hear what you want. She's asking to see if you even know yourself anymore and what you stand for, and if your life is being led on purpose or just dragging itself along the path of least resistance. And that moment, that tiny space between her question and your answer, is where everything about your direction as a man is exposed. Your clarity, your boundaries, your courage, your depth. It's all on display in the words you choose next. And if those words come out tentative, If they're built on fear of rejection, if they're coated in vague politeness or drowned in apology, she'll walk away. Maybe not right then, maybe not with a goodbye, but she'll start shutting the doors of her energy because she needs to know that the man in front of her has a vision so rooted in who he is that no external validation can shake it loose. And the irony is that most men try to impress with open-ended answers, thinking it makes them seem flexible, chill, easygoing. But what it actually signals is that you're not even leading your own life, let alone ready to lead in a relationship. And women, real women, grown women, tested women, aren't looking for vague potential. They're looking for a man whose presence communicates purpose, whose words are born from knowing, not guessing, because when she asks, "What are you looking for?" what she really wants to hear is something that makes her feel both safe and excited. Something that tells her you're not lost, that your heart isn't wandering, that you've done the work to define what you want and have made space for it. And it doesn't have to be poetic or polished or impressive. It just has to be true. Raw, grounded truth that says, "I'm looking for something real, not perfect, not instant, but real." A connection that doesn't need pretending, that welcomes truth even when it's messy, that builds peace and passion in the same breath. And when you speak like that, when you speak with conviction and not calculation, you do something almost no man ever does. You give her certainty, and not the certainty that you're picking her, but that you've picked yourself, that you know where your life is headed and what kind of woman fits into that direction. And it's not about dominance, it's about decisiveness, because indecision is the death of attraction, and women feel that decay immediately when your words dance around the truth instead of dropping into it. And yes, some women will disappear when you speak your vision out loud, and that's good. Because the ones who stay will be the ones who are aligned with it, who feel drawn toward that vision not because it's easy, but because it's real, and the ones who walk away. They were never going to walk with you anyway. They were only going to weigh you down with compromise, and when you stop watering down your truth to keep people comfortable, you start attracting the woman who's actually meant for you, not just the one who tolerates you. So when she asks you that question, stand in it like a man who has lived through enough loss to know what's worth building, who's loved and failed and grown, and finally understood that desire without direction is a slow death. So speak your truth, not the rehearsed version, not the one you think she wants to hear, but the one that scares you a little because it's so damn real. And in that space, in that moment, she won't just listen, she'll feel seen. Because the woman who asks that question isn't looking for perfection. She's looking for a man who's awake, a man who's not afraid to want deeply and clearly, a man who's no longer running from the life he actually wants. And if you become that man, if you speak from that place, you'll not only answer her question, you'll answer every unspoken one she's ever held in her heart. If you've made it this far, you already know. This wasn't just a video. This was a mirror held up to your past, your patterns, and your potential. You've been drifting through conversations, missing moments, losing chances not because you were unworthy, but because no one ever handed you the code. That ends now. The Stoic relationship blueprint is the map you never had, forged for men who are done with confusion, done with games, and done wasting years misunderstanding the women right in front of them. It's not soft, it's not sweet, it's real, brutal, clarifying. It teaches you how to move like a man who sees, leads, and never fumbles the signal again. If you're tired of regret, if you're ready to wake up with clarity and walk into every room knowing exactly what to say, what to see, and who to be, comment the Stoic Blueprint below right now. Then like this video and subscribe to this channel, because the truth in these words will save men years of pain, years of wasted time chasing what they could have claimed with presence. The link to the ebook is pinned in the comments, but it won't be available forever. Knowledge like this, It needs to be protected. If you're ready, it's yours. Forever. No more missed signs.